Do it for the love, yes I do. So you don't care about the money, well yes it's true. And I'm so blessed to be fulfilling my destiny. All material things could mean less to me. Only thing I ever could need is a Sarah B sample with a dope ass beat. And get the mic check, all the levels right. And if it's good then I'll be here for several nights. Cause the only thing I need is a strong supporting team. The most important thing that helps supporting my dream. And I can't forget my family, helping keep my sanity. No matter what I do, I know they'll always stand for me. No matter what I do, I know they'll always stand for me. Yeah.
Welcome to a guide to the short videos where I give you my thoughts and tips to a certain game. Today we're gonna talk about Art of Rally. It's a very certain kind of game, very special. It's a top-down rally racer where you take part of rally racing in the Group B, which is very special because it was one of the most powerful cars ever seen in rally racing. You also really didn't have any safety barriers, so most of the time the spectators were standing so close to the races that some of them got really injured. There were some pretty nasty accidents in rally racing Group B, which caused it to stop. Art of Rally really makes it very enjoyable to race those races, not just because of the amazing graphics, but also because of the really nice handling, and that's something not a lot of games get very right. For example, Dirt 3 was the last rally racing game I played, and Dirt 3 was very special because you felt every bump and everything, and it's kind of the same with Art of Rally, but in a very different art style, so it makes it very interesting. Also, top-down racing is quite different because you don't need an advisor to your right who's telling you the next turns, but you just look ahead and kind of see and anticipate what's coming up. And that makes it really interesting and really fun because you're on your own. You don't really have anyone to blame if you hit a tree, but it's also very engaging and very fun. Art of Rally was developed by Fun Selector Labs Incorporated, released in 2020 and is available on Windows, Linux and macOS. Your first thought when released into the game is just the art style. It's very simplistic but also very engaging, and it really kind of homes down the idea of Art of Rally. It makes it visually pleasing to just race around, and even if you're really struggling at the beginning because of the very kind of realistic and kind of hard to manage controls, it's also just really fun to race around and watch the amazing scenery fly by. Sometimes you just kind of stop and admire the views, especially because of the photo mode, which you saw on the beginning, and it really kind of gives you time to dive into the scenery and just enjoy the view for a sec. When you first start out, you're kind of placed in this tutorial area with lots of pylons placed around, some repaints, boxes to drive through, and also I think a repair station. When you leave the tutorial area, you enter an open world, which gives you your first kind of chance to explore the view and the scenery and the tracks on your own. There's no rally or timing or anything, you just kind of drive around. There's some collectibles to collect with which you unlock new maps, new cars and more. The career mode offers you a lot of rallies at different places all around the world, where you unlock with each new completed rally a new car and also new paint schemes, and it's very engaging because you really get a sense of progress in there. The first rally you're gonna do is probably not gonna be your best rally, but there is a quite steep learning curve and you're gonna start to feel how you're able to manage the car. Also, you will probably start to notice some amazing details. For example, in the car description you're gonna see some really awesome written text about the car you're gonna drive, and also quite funny names. When you start to take your next and next rally, you really get a feel for the progression you're kind of enjoying. You're gonna start to unlock more and more cars, and it's gonna be pretty cool because every car is gonna feel very different. Also, tracks are gonna change. For example, the first one is probably on pavement, the second one might be on sand, and the third one might be on ice. So you really need to pay attention on what surface you're driving on and what car you're in. And that makes it very interesting because the gameplay is always changing. You're not just adapting to the car you're riding currently, but you're also improving your overall driving skill just to be better at the next car. And it's really engaging. Also, you'll probably notice even more details. For example, if you first flip your car, you're gonna see there's some text written on the bottom of the car, which is amazing because you usually won't see it, but if you do mess up, it's nice to see something funny. The more you play, the more you're gonna begin to understand how the handling affects the car and how you need to handle the car around corners. You're gonna understand what makes you faster, you're gonna understand what loses you time. And I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it again, the sense of progression in this game is just what's engaging to the player, and it's done really well here. Annoyingly though, sometimes the frame rate starts to suddenly decrease very sharply. And I get around, I don't know, 60 frames usually, but when I hit those frame drops, it drops down to like 12, 10 frames per second, which almost makes this game, because it is so fast-paced, unplayable. Devs, please fix. Also, you're gonna notice how the track limits are very tightly placed around some corners. It almost feels like the game is kind of cheating on you and taking away good times just because you left the track for like 5 meters to the left. Sometimes it's not even faster to go offline, and the game still punishes you very harshly for it. It seems like rally driving is never about just staying on track, but also getting the fastest line, and the game not acknowledging that is sometimes very frustrating. The most challenging part though, and there is no doubt about it, is not hitting trees and stones and other stuff. It's really quite easy to mess up and hit some, but if you do, you're either stuck or placed back on track with a 5-second penalty, and it's just gonna ruin your time. So it's better to brake and be careful and not to be close to trees or stones, because you're gonna hit them and it's gonna cost you time. As I said before, with each completed rally you're gonna unlock more cars and more skins and repaints, and that's especially true after 5 rallies, where you start to unlock a special car. For example, this van you can see right here, I unlocked it after completing my first 5 stages, and it was really amazing. Even though this car handles like shit and I couldn't drive it anywhere else, it's still fun and it's an engaging way to keep the player going. The best part about this game though is that this game doesn't end. You have the career mode, which obviously does end after a certain amount of time, but you also have the free roam mode, you also have the kind of custom rally you can do, also have some kind of multiplayer and, you know, like leaderboard fight going on, and this keeps the game like very long term interesting. It has to be said though that after you complete your rally and you unlock most of the cars, the sense of progression kind of slows down and it gets a little bit more kind of grindy and less entertaining to keep on driving. However, this means the game doesn't really end, and if you really enjoy rally racing, you can go on for pretty much ever. So who's this game for? I would say it's for racing enthusiasts, but also kind of the casual players, which I didn't expect at first when I picked up the game, but the way the handling feels and the way you get used to driving this car, I played it on controller and it was really amazing. Really also makes it interesting for more casual players who really don't care about the racing aspect too much, which I really didn't expect, and it's gotta be said, props to the devs for actually making this possible. I feel like most definitely though it's aimed at the Rally Group B enthusiasts, and that's really awesome because we haven't seen that in a very long time. Now, obviously this isn't a simulation in the sense you would expect usually. You're not gonna be in the first person view driving around a rally track, but it's more like an arcadey kind of style, but still with very challenging controls and very engaging controls at that. So for someone who's looking for a real rally simulation, this might not be the game. Also, it has to be said, even though I think it's very enjoyable, that unlocking cars is kind of like a grind, and you need to keep playing in order to unlock more cars. So if you're not a fan of somewhat grinding a little bit, then this game might also not be for you. For me personally though, this game was pretty awesome and I would recommend it 10 out of 10. It even was so amazing I started this YouTube channel, so yeah, I would recommend it. It's kind of the game you play while listening to your friends talk on Discord or while listening to a podcast, but that's what's amazing about it.
Do it for the love, yes I do. So you don't care about the money, well, yes.